Hey folks, this is Jake Davis and welcome to my house. This is my new place. It's my third night here and still definitely trying to get my bearings and get settled and everything. It's really cluttered. I'm currently shooting in will eventually be my wife's office and maybe even be my video room. She's suggesting possibly hanging up a green screen in the background. She's always been far more ambitious than me. Uh, Today I'm doing something that I've actually been wanting to do since the beginning of the year, something to celebrate. A pivotal, monumental moment coming up in cinematic history, which is the passing of the Bond torch. Daniel Craig this April will be featured in his fifth and final performance as James Bond 007, the ultimate gentleman spy. Uh, where my take on Craig's performances in his films in and of themselves is varied over the years. Where Skyfall is definitely one of my top three favorite Bond films ever. What I've been wanting to do to celebrate this monumentous occasion, because it's always a big deal when you get a new Bond or you get a new Batman. And by the way, earlier tonight, first look at Robert Pattinson in the Batman suit. I'm not totally cool about the suit, but stoked about Pattinson, man. He looks like Batman. But anyways, what I want to do today is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I'm going to call it Bond by Bond. I'm going to go through every single actor who's played James Bond, and only going through the Ian Broccoli franchise, those 24 films. And I've also decided not to shoot individual retro reviews for these films because, hey, I might want to do those sometime down the line, and I don't want to get hampered down and want to do every single one inside of a certain window of time. So right off, we're going to start with the big dog himself, Sean Connery, Scotland Forever. Uh, I love Sean Connery. He's easily my favorite James Bond. He's most people's favorite James Bond. Sean Connery between 1962 and 1971, I believe, appeared in 6 official James Bond movies, those being Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever, and, yeah, that was 6. Never Say Never Again was a film he did in 1983, starring Klaus Maria Brandweier, Bernie Casey, and a terrific performance from Bernie Casey as Felix Leitner, and Kim Basinger. The thing is with Bernie Casey's Felix Leitner, he was the first black actor to play Felix, and every Felix since has been African American. And considering it was a unofficial Bond franchise, but yet set the standard and changed the tone for such an important character, was kind of a cool thing. I don't think it should be. Be necessary. I thought it was cool. Ray Fiennes replacing Judi Dench as him was a cool thing because Ray Fiennes is a great actor and he just fits as being the next M. It doesn't necessarily have to be Helen Mirren, even though Helen Mirren really wanted it to be Helen Mirren. Anyhow, 1962 hits. James Bond comes out. Dr. No comes out, and it's just a phenomenal hit. It's a blockbuster. It changes films, It is this dark hero and this almost irreverent approach to violence and espionage and stuff like this. It's so cold and so humorous, yet so intense and such a brutal, badass character. And from his very entrance, Mr. Bond, James Bond, cinematic icon, was born. Yeah, a lot of Bond's legacy has to do with Connery's original impression on the role, as well as the score of the film. I love Dr. No. The character Dr. No is great. Ursula Andress, maybe the hottest Bond babe of all time, if you don't count Kim Basinger. If you do count Kim Basinger, she's the hottest babe of all time in any category she's in. We followed that up with From Russia with Love, which I've said before I think is one of the finest sequels in film history, which introduces the truly wicked villain of Mr. Grant, played brilliantly by Robert Shaw, and we also introduced James Bond's archenemy, Spectre, led by the nefarious Ernst Stavros Blofeld, which in Spectre, the 2015 film, we revealed that he's Bond's brother. Oh, that shouldn't even count. But it's a great movie. And Goldfinger is probably what most people consider the absolute best James Bond film. It's probably the most universally acclaimed. Has a great villain, has a great henchman. What's her name? Honey Rider? No, Honey Rider plays Pussy Galore. Or is her name Honey? Is her name Honey Rider? God, that sounds like a Bond girl name now. I'm so confused. I can't remember. I can't separate realism here. But Odd Job and Goldfinger and Pussy Galore, just great characters. Plus, a really interesting, cool story. Classic Bond spy shit. The Aston Martin is a huge part of the film's reputation. The climactic sequence on the plane. Do you expect me to talk, Goldfinger? It's like, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. It's all so iconic. It's so iconic. It's easily the most iconic. It is the quintessential James Bond film. Even though it's not my particular favorite, my personal favorite James Bond film would be the fourth film of Sean Connery's, and that is Thunderball. Which I want to say was directed by Terrence Young. Hamilton directed Goldfinger, and Young directed. Hey, baby.
Daddy, I want more shows.
Ask Mommy to play one for you. Can you shut the door for me? I'm just gonna wrap this up. Love you. Oh, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thunderball is my favorite Bond film, and it was the last Bond movie to win an Oscar until Skyfall. Believe it or not, huge. What nearly 40-year gap there. You Only Live Twice was a terrific movie, even though a lot of people will complain about the Sean Connery and Asian prosthetics and colored makeup. Yes, retrospectively. I mean, not even retrospectively. I mean, then that was kind of offensive. I mean, if you are offended as a white person, seeing a white person doing something like that, it's kind of the offense kind of holds no merit. So unless you're being told by an Asian person, hey, that's offensive, it's like, you know what? I agree, that's offensive. I recognize, or what, I don't even know what I mean by this point, but, I guess it did kind of, I don't know, made my skin crawl a little bit when I first saw it, even though, it's a small portion of the film. I do like the kind of, the part in the movie where he orders his sake properly. This is an alcoholic connoisseur. I guess I should add connoisseur there. And Diamonds Are Forever, which is, it's crap. No, it's really not a good movie at all. The Absolutely Wasted, the side villains, the two partners. I can't remember the names off the top of my head now, but they were far more interesting than Fleming's novel, which, admittedly, I've only read Cliff Notes, but I've read all the Fleming Cliff Notes. Hey, that's better than some people can say. At least I'm admitting it. Multiple actors playing. I should point out, Donald Pleasance did play Blofeld in You Only Live Twice, the ultimate Blofeld. And talk about. I guess you take a moment to talk about the songs. The Goldfinger song is really memorable. I always liked how in the original, Dr. No, the Bond theme is just the Bond theme. There's not really a song. There's a little bit of a Jamaican rendition of Three Blind Mice, which is cool. Bond songs really didn't. Once you get to Goldfinger, you get to the formula that's so familiar with Bond movies. Well, I'm really looking forward to doing these because where like with Star Wars, whereas might not be something I'm so geeky and so entrenched in the lore with as I might be with like comic book films or horror movies. I absolutely love James Bond. I love James Bond, and this is the kind of thing that I didn't really inherit. I didn't grow up in a household where just Bond movies were aplenty and everybody liked them, everybody liked to watch them. I mean, this is something I went out on my own. I wanted to see, what's all this talk about this James Bond guy, and he seems to be really popular. It was around the time GoldenEye came out, and, I didn't like GoldenEye. I'll get to that. But, yeah, I mean, I love Bond movies. I really do. I've kind of dragged my wife into them a little bit. And I will definitely do a retro review one day of Dr. No, the original film. But this is my first of the Bond by Bonds, and I will do one for each Bond actor, following up talking about his body of work and the role, and his era as the character. More importantly, I just wanted to get this out tonight because this is my third night in my new place, and just was just trying to get stuff in, and bathing kids and cooking dinner and unpacking. It's just. Plus, I gotta clean. I have been cleaning up my other place and working full time. I'm a cook. I'm not getting off easy on Valentine's week here. Anyhow, I hope y'all like this video. I hope y'all come back for more. I hope y'all are stoked about that George Lazenby video because it's gonna be kind of short. I'm Jake Davis, and I'll catch you on the fly.